What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Metaphorcast. This is something that has been a long time coming. I've been very excited to be able to bring something like this. If any of you remember the playbook from about a year ago now, that kind of went away pretty quickly. Did not realize how poorly supported Google Sheets was on mobile, and so we figured, why not transition to web instead? And for the perks of being on a website, that means that we can also start to cover content a little bit differently. For me, this is exactly the direction that I wanted to go. Defense theory crafting is one of my favorite things to do in this game by a mile. I think it's easily some of the most fun that you can have, kind of building puzzles for your opponents and watching, were they able to figure it out? Oh, they went, this direction. Maybe we try that, and so on, right? It's iterative. It's kind of feels multiplayer, actually, right? Galaxy of Heroes basically is a single player game. You're playing against the AI, but when you're building your defense, you are kind of playing against your opponent's mindset, what you think they'll do, try to get in their head a little bit. And I think that this is going to be a great way to kind of show, every season we go in blind now, right? You can't test Omicrons in Squad Arena. There's always that element of the unknown. And so far, every recent season, I've been able to come up with pretty effective traps that cause a lot of defensive damage. And this is my way of trying to spread that stuff out into the world. The format system, I'm especially a pretty big fan of. We have the compact view, which does a great job, I think, of getting a lot of info in at a glance, but also at the same time, you expand it out, you see a lot of really in-depth, even like why you would run a team or things you need to check against for your opponent. A lot of concepts that I think, especially if you weren't thinking about this stuff already, and even if you completely ignore my setups, will kind of help elevate your defensive game and your own defensive theory crafting. And then, of course, we have the Datacron first, because there's 5 characters after. And then we have the star players, the mods on every single section, all kind of at a glance. Again, might look familiar from the website. Definitely reusing the good stuff where possible. Yeah, I think it's just a great way to at least get the strong beats. Certainly not every speed that you see is going to be sacred. Everyone has their own mod collection, their own mod depth. You'll have to make choices based on what you have. I don't expect everyone to be able to beat a kind of line like 335 to 350 Finn, but also maybe you can't reach that for your Finn, but maybe if you're fighting Star Killer teams, maybe their Mara Jade isn't also 370 speed, right? The rating system is more built on not necessarily a team's relative power. I'm not going to do like JMK Cat number 1 or Vitter Maul number 2. Instead, what we're trying to do here is kind of build a heat map for the teams that I think are most likely going to be dealing the most damage. And then, you'll have some traps like, maybe one is easier to spot than another, or maybe one type of trap is kind of fading out at top levels of play, but could actually still be like one of the best setups you could run at mid-level GP. And so this is really trying to bring a more flexible attitude and opinion. I mean, you can see that in my opinion, like the top 2 teams right now are non-GL. That is not an exaggeration, I can promise you. I will even, why not? You can see firsthand, the proof is in the pudding. I'll do this live. Qui-Gon hold. Let's see. Malgus one shot. Are they getting hit by GL? Sure. But this is, a non-GL team that is holding to almost all non-GLs. Puts your opponent in a weird spot, right? Kind of get the idea where that's heading. Why this team might be a little bit good. You get the idea, right? So yeah, the whole idea is to get teams like this into your hands so that obviously in order to win, you have to make sure everything goes well on offense. And offense is something I would like to get to. But for now, at the very least, you can go into a season with what should be some really effective setups to at least get a leg up on your opponent. Grab some popcorn, watch the fireworks. Like, it's one of my favorite things in this game. I can lose a match, and if my defense did well, I can still walk away like, yeah, all right, some of that stuff worked. It means, solve whatever mistakes you made on offense and come back stronger next time. You still have a good defense, right? So with all that being said, we're not necessarily going to break down set 1 in this video. It is still definitely a bit work in progress. We'll call it a beta. That's how this works nowadays, right? It's a beta. It's early access. Expect to see some more changes in the next day, and then we will put out a video kind of talking everything through. From now on in future seasons, the plan is hopefully CG will still announce the effects and stats on a good timeline. The hope is that we will have this out start of every season before defense locks in. So that way you all can know what I'm eyeballing, what seems like a good idea, and what's projected to do pretty well. Last thing I just want to stress, Malgus just came out. Not a lot of people have Malgus, but not necessarily meaning that there is nothing else for you here. Like I'll tell you right now, it's not in the video. There is a DR set comp that I think will be especially good for those of you who are in the mid game. Stuff like that, don't necessarily worry that, I don't have the newest, latest. There is nothing for me here. The goal is to focus on both cutting edge, but also, I think Galaxy of Heroes follows this kind of trickle where teams can expire at the top end and still be godlike in the middle. And I want to make sure that we're serving for both. So yeah, I think that covers about everything I want to say for this. Mostly I just want to say, feedback is everything right now. We are still very, very flexible on what can or can't be done. If you have any feedback, notice any bugs or issues, especially if you see anything that's out of place, that does not look like what you see in this video, do be sure to let me know. And if you can, I know this is like, depending on what phone you have, might not be an easy ask, let me know what screen size you have, because believe it or not, designing for mobile it turns out a nightmare. And speaking of designing, all shout outs go to Prime Force. He is the one who has been programming this website and getting everything all together. Literally would not be talking to you about this without him. All the credit to him, and as we'll be talking about soon with the GAC strategy, all shout outs to PrimeBot, which is a way that you can see when your opponent is attacking. And I mean, hey, we're talking about grabbing some popcorn. You will get to watch your defense live. It's pretty fun. I'd recommend it. Anyway, yeah, get the word of mouth out about this if you like what you're seeing, because not a whole lot of advertising this game necessarily. Really would appreciate it if you all are willing to do that. I don't say to like or subscribe ever on this channel, but it is a reality. The site will only grow if you all like what you're seeing and keep it going. Yeah. Last but not least, we are looking to do a sort of bounty board feature. So if you want to try some of these setups, and if you have, honestly, even if you don't get good results, I'm also kind of down to hear it. But if you get holds or whatever, feel free to send me screenshots. I'd like to get them up in some spot on the website. And yeah, it'll be fantastic. Anyway, enjoy. Happy hunting.